Wraithguard, Guards of Wraith. I'll get right to it. I'm building up a collection of old Eldar models and restoring them for use in 2nd edition 40k. Yes, I play that still. How do you improve upon perfection? A kind chap called Tim donated some models from the collection of his late flatmate, charging me to honour his memory by restoring them. These Wraithguard are not of that collection though. I bought them second hand. Let's say I caught the bug. So I'll be trying to restore life to these models again, painting them in the colour of my lesser known Craftworld, as well as talking about their silly rules in the old editions of the game and discussing a bit of the history of these models. So wake up, emerge from the Infinity Circuit, and charge up your Wraith cannons. It's time for another miniature escape with Miniscape. Now, I have various parts of Wraithguard here, though each model is but a head and a torso. Some of these are in good shape, some of these have incurred damage, and some I just plain don't want you to see. Nevertheless, I think I can make a squad of 5, so let's crack on with that. Assembly is simple. Insert the headpiece into the torso, with the torso on a slaughter base. I'm still using 25mm, being true to 2nd edition. And like Mike McVeigh taught me, I'm applying some PVA glue to the base, dousing it with sand, shaking off the excess, and fixing it in place with some dilute PVA. The Wraithguard have been primed white, just like I have painted most of my Eldar. I give the white armour a shade with a mixture of AK Glaze Medium, Fenrisian Grey, and water. This seeps into the recesses and avoids the white sections. I filmed this process using a couple of different models, and you may notice me change between, but it is the same process throughout. Once that was dry, I mixed Glaze Medium with white and glazed the white mixture over most of the armour, except the recesses. This was so the upper facing areas looked a bit brighter. Like with my Guardians, I wanted the Wraith chaps to have blue helmets or whatever they are. Witching Hour Blue was used as the first coat. Following this, a mixture of Oxford Blue and Black Legion was used to glaze the lower half of the front of the helmet and to shade the nodules. A thin mixture of this was also used on pipes and in the pits of the knees and elbows. Some weapons in my army are black and some are yellow. I'm going with a black body and a yellow muzzle on this one. Black Legion contrast paint was used on the Wraith cannon body at this stage. Back to the helmet, I used a makeup sponge to apply flat blue. This gives a very pleasing effect. I also try to hit the top of the head where it may catch more light. Then flat blue is mixed with Calidor Sky and the process is repeated, covering less area. This is followed up with the same mixture but with a little white added, building up the highlights as we go. Fiendish Yellow is applied to the gun muzzle, which when dry is shaded with an orange wash of my own creation, again using AK Glaze Medium, water and an orange paint. When that is dry, Fiendish Yellow is added again, but avoiding the recesses, just to restore some of that original yellow colour. And finally on the yellow, Flashkit's Yellow is used to paint a stripe across the top of the muzzle where it would catch the most light. On the tabard, I begin with a base coat of purple and magenta, but I didn't like this too much, so I used Screamer Pink instead. Then I layer on some magenta, mixed with a little of the previous colour, which ties them together better. A wet palette, I find, really helps with this, and you might not be able to tell here, but as I was painting these on, I wasn't waiting for the previous layer to dry, so that the layers blended together a little and created a pleasing gradient. I've been experimenting with some wet blending, and I'm quite pleased with the outcome. Maybe you'll see more of that in my videos in the future. Finally, Diviner Light is used to paint thin lines here and there to show the swoosh of the cloth. And I wonder, Wraithguard emerge from the Craftworld to defend it during times of trouble. Do they emerge with the cloth, or is it added afterwards? The body of the gun is highlighted with deep grey, on all the twists and turns and edges it has. Then a finer highlight is added, which is a mix of deep grey and white, but more white than grey. With respect to the gem, A layer of Mephiston red goes down first, on the bottom 2/3. Black is painted along the top in a sort of arc, focusing on the top third. Evil Sun Scarlet is used to make another arc, this time of red, and a white dot is painted in the black section to finish. The nodules on the back are painted like the gun, fiendish yellow, then an orange wash. On the helmet, I freehand paint one of the Wraithguard symbols, and on the tabard, I freehand paint the Necretine Craftworld symbol. All that's left to do then is paint the base. And for this, I use Vallejo Model Colour Goblin Green on the top and the rim, and I highlight the texture with a simple dry brush of basic skin tone. And that makes them just about ready for the squad reveal. Oh, wait, no, I couldn't possibly show you that one. Let's cut to the other guy. Where is he? I want to begin by exploring what I think could be the origins of Wraithguard. This picture you see here from White Dwarf issue 101 from May 1988 does not depict Wraithlords and Wraithguard. While they have similarities, these are spirit warriors and ghost warriors. They were designed by Vaul himself, Jez Goodwin. Rules for these were found in the same magazine, rules for the first edition of Warhammer 40k, Rogue Trader. The background mentions the Infinity Circuit, described here as the Eldar successor to the computer, which 2nd edition lore builds upon. But here, it is also about a soul graft, the transference of an Eldar's memory and personality to the Infinity Circuit, so they can pilot these spirit warriors and ghost warriors. Eldar who survive the soul graft are revered and given the title Lord Phoenix. Here's a quote from one such chap. "My only remaining pleasure is to bring death to the enemies of my craft world. The spirit warriors are the dreadnought-sized fellas, while the ghost warriors are the smaller blokes. Ghost warriors perform infiltration, sabotage and assassination missions. Like their larger counterparts, the spirit warriors, ghost warriors use infinity circuits to provide the control system for a robotic body. They are built from a special material called stealthine, a plastic compound that is invisible to most forms of sensors. Stealthine is combined with an internal energy shielding to make it almost impossible for a ghost warrior to be seen by anything other than ordinary eyesight. In Rogue Trader, they had these special rules. They act independently and cannot join other units. They are immune to fear and never rout. Their stealthine construction can only be spotted by a unit that moves within initiative range, and they are impervious to auto-aim. They can carry 3 weapons, 1 on each arm and 1 on the head. All 3 can be used each turn. They have a sensor package in the PV of their profile. What's PV? They have a 5+ save. They are immune to gas, poison or radiation, and 0 to 3 warriors can be included in an Eldar force. 2 examples of ghost warriors given are the Executioner class, armed with Chain Fist, Power Glove and Flamer, and the Assassin class, armed with 2 Power Gloves and Shuriken Catapult, and coming with a Teleport Homer. The Ghost Warriors and Spirit Warriors would not be included again in the Eldar army list in White Dwarf 127, so presumably this was the last we heard of them. The next time we see something similar are Wraithguard, and these have a significant mention in White Dwarf issue 175 from July of 1994. The release of the Wraithguard miniature is announced in this issue, coming as a single miniature per blister pack. It's quite a green issue, that one, so the Wraithguard don't get any coverage other than this heavy metal page next to this Dreadnought. Yes, Dreadnought. Surely that's a Wraithlord, you may correct me. Hold your horses, fella. They don't get that designation until 1998. These metal miniatures are shown with 2 poses in this picture, but it turns out there were 3 poses in total, as shown by this catalogue page from the 1995-1996 annual. Models came in 2 parts, the body and the head. 3 kinds of head and 3 kinds of body, so you can have some degree of variety in your ghostly lineup. Again, these are designed by the Jez. But what do these symbols mean? These 3 symbols are apparently for the Infinity Circuit, and therefore you will see them on things like Wraithguards and Dreadnoughts and other warriors that come from said circuit. This heavy metal page shows their usage. Wraithguard are a special case in 2nd edition Warhammer 40 Grand, in that instead of having a toughness value, they have an armor value as if they were a vehicle. If you are shooting at Wraithguard, and you land a hit, then roll to beat the armor value, just like you would a vehicle. If this value is beaten or equaled, then a d6 is rolled. On a 1 or a 2, it may not move next turn. On a 3 or a 4, it takes a wound. Note that it has a wounds characteristic of 2. On the roll of a 5 or 6, it is destroyed, and may suck other models into the warp with it. Roll a d6 for every model within 2 inches. If a 6 is rolled, the model is destroyed. Only a living creature, Wraithguard or Dreadnought, can be affected in this way. A Wraithguard need living Eldar nearby to allow them to see into the material world. They can only behave normally if living Eldar are on the table. If a Warlock or Farseer is within 12 inches, then they get +1 to their to-hit rolls when shooting. If no living Eldar remain on the table, they must retreat to their table edge and do nothing else. They will fight in hand-to-hand combat, but will not strike blows if they win combat. The Wraith Cannon is the armament of the Wraithguard, powered by the psychic energy of their Spirit Stone, which when focused, opens a temporary rift between reality and warp space. To-hit rolls are done normally, and vehicles and buildings have their armor penetrated automatically. Any other models have to roll on the Distort test table, being moved on a result of a 4 to 6 and destroyed outright on a 1 to 3. By moved, we mean 2d6 inches in a random direction, of course, rather than being, say, moved emotionally. With a ballistic skill of 5, Wraithguard are hitting their target on a roll of a 2 if it's out in the open, and with an auto pen against vehicles, damage is almost guaranteed. A 35-point fancy robot taking out a 220-point Land Raider would not then be entirely unlikely. The only downside, its limited range of 16 inches. When taking these in your army, they are a squad's choice. Each Wraithguard costs 35 points per model, and their squads are 5 to 10 strong. Each is armed with a Wraith Cannon, and because they have an armor value like a vehicle, they do not benefit from a saving throw. In 3rd edition, Wraithguard were an elite choice. They were 35 points each, and came in squads of between 5 and 10. They had Wraith Cannons, and could be joined by a Warlock from the Farseer's retinue. If the squad was but 5 strong, and up to 1 Warlock had joined them, then they could be mounted in a Wave Serpent for 110 points. Wraithguard are fearless, so they never fall back, and cannot be pinned. Characters who join them also gain this attribute. There is a downside to using them, and that is the rule Wraith Sight. If they are not led by a Farseer or Warlock, then at the start of each Eldar turn, roll d6 for each model, and on the roll of a 1, they may do nothing. The Wraith Cannon in this edition is not quite as wacky as in 2nd edition, but still pretty potent. It always wounds on a roll of a 4+ regardless of toughness. If a 6 is rolled when rolling to wound, it inflicts instant death, as the target is wholly transported into the warp, or in the case of a demon, sent back home. Against targets with an armor value, a Wraith Cannon always inflicts a glancing hit on the roll of a 4 and a penetrating hit on the roll of a 5 or 6, regardless of the target's armor value. Otherwise, the weapon is a 12-inch range, AP 1, Assault 1 weapon. So that's 4 Wraithguard painted. Well, 5 if you include 4 Wraithguard painted. When a 5th gets done, they can join the rest of my Eldar force on the tabletop. And just one thing I wanted to point out. These are big miniatures for 2nd edition 40k. I mean, just look at the size of them compared with these Space Marines. Sure, they're small compared with contemporary ones, but you get the point. I've got a few more videos to do for the 671 Eldar enjoyers who follow this channel, and for those Eldar deniers, and Eldar agnostics as well. I know you like my stuff really. I've been doing some work on Vipers, a Warwalker, and a Viperism. Also the Avatar is primed. I just need to summon the courage to paint him. So I hope you enjoyed this video of 4 Wraithguard. No, I said 4, not 5. Fine, as long as he's covered up. I couldn't subject the audience to his grotesque appearance. Not yet, anyway. Who is he? Who is he? He sees you.
Looking at a Wraithguard with your eyes. And he's looking back, even though he has no eyes. Wraithguard, baby, he has no eyes, baby. Where we going? You don't need eyes, baby. You don't need eyes.